Hello. This is 5/16/22. It's a pre-recorded message for Wednesday, 5/18/2022. This is recording number 364, entitled, Receive the Greatness of God. Receive the greatness of God. As we look at this world, one must admit that it is a remarkable creation, with some of the areas that don't look perfect. We still must admit that whatever designed this world is great in its own nature. And even though some parts of this creation appear to be lifeless, corrupt, unvegetated, as I stated before, there must be the admission that something great created this world that we live in. I've entitled this Receive the Greatness of God because as we explore any of the Holy Scriptures, we'll find that there is always an extended invitation that God says, that which we call God, the all-powerful, the all-knowing, is extending an invitation to come and receive of his greatness. But what is the greatness of God? Just what is this greatness? What would it mean to receive such a stupendous gift? What would it mean to have the greatness of God thrust upon you or established upon you? We all know what we believe God to be, and that would be the greatness that we are being invited to receive. You know, this is a subject matter that we must ponder quite thoroughly, because just on the surface, one would likely come to a selfish confidence, a selfish conclusion that they would be exalted above measure, above anything that could come against them. And it would be a selfish understanding. Can you imagine everyone on the planet believing that they have so much confidence, so much greatness about them? This could not possibly be the understanding of receiving the greatness of God. And yet, in some spiritual circles, that's exactly what you hear, what you feel when they speak. To discipline oneself to avoid selfish desires in a self-centered world. Wow. To discipline oneself to avoid selfish desires in a self-centered world. Doesn't this kind of make you wonder if maybe that saying that nice guys finish last, that's where that may have come from? Because as one tries to be a good person in this human world, he usually finds himself being pushed aside or taken advantage of. But, as I said before, to have the greatness of God thrust upon what we call a human being, we already see the selfishness of the peoples of the world who are trying to to enslave or trying to take advantage of, or trying to be greedy, or trying to just exert force over. We already see unspiritualized people in those types of actions. What would an unenlightened person, how would he act if he had the greatness of God upon him and his nature not being changed? Could it be possible to discipline yourself to avoid selfish desires in this selfish world? Could it actually be possible to achieve such a lofty goal? To listen to the peoples of the world, especially those with spiritual desires, we hear the same messages. Desires of attaining the high prize of reaching heaven. But upon closer inspection of the conversations, it's revealed that many of the same selfish desires held by those that have no spiritual aspirations are being shared by those who say they have spiritual aspirations. When I get to heaven, desires for fame, riches, dominion over others, vengeance returned to those that have previously abused them in some way. Could this be God's heaven? A place where one just switches homelands but remains unchanged? Living as they selfishly see fit with no regard for his fellow man? You have to pay attention to the conversations that you're hearing, the conversations that you're seeing others go through, the things that are happening to this world. You have to be able to go, there's no way in the world that some of these people can attain to a heavenly atmosphere, living as they selfishly see fit with no regard for his fellow man, and then suddenly changed, taken to heaven, and everything's all right with the world. The holiness of the Scriptures reveal that God so loved us that he gave his Son to every person, that his love would be felt internally. That's a nice word there. His love would be felt internally, a moving. You know, sometimes we're moved when we see things in movies or read things in books, or and that moving in us. Sometimes we're brought to tears, and sometimes we swoon, or sometimes we just sigh, and it's involuntary. Those things just come on us. God is saying, I have a love that I need, that I want you to feel internally. A love that every time you feel it, it draws you closer to me. Jesus stated that receiving, feeling this love, would cause one to become a light in a dark world. Wow. Can you imagine being able to point people in a direction, a positive direction? Can you imagine yourself being able to help people find their way? You know, many times I've been in the dark and I saw a light somewhere and I was drawn to it. It may not have been the way that I was supposed to go, but it was at least leading me out of darkness. Jesus said, this light, this love of God felt in your heart would direct people to a safe place. Well, the only safe place that there can be would be in the presence of God. That this light would shine so brightly that it would draw all of creation to it. At one time, he breathed on men and said, receive the greatness of God. He said this light, or the understanding, would free all of mankind from its worries and fears. God spoke to Abraham and promised him himself as the great reward. Can it be? What will it take to believe such a promise? God will give me himself. Wow. Jesus stated that heaven could not be seen through the natural eye. But when seen, one would be, in essence, where he and the Father were. In receiving him, one would be receiving the one that sent him. He would be receiving the greatness of God. When we're alone with ourselves and we contemplate such high promises, high invitations, what can we do to say, yes, I want that? I really don't know what I have to do, but yes, I want that. At one point in time, Jesus said, he who tries to save his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find one greater. Wow. In receiving him, one would be receiving the one that sent him. He would be receiving the greatness of God. To become this light, one must be careful how he listens. Why? Because beliefs harden into symbolic expressions. In other words, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. A belief held so convincingly within is going to harden into a fact, some symbol of that belief, something that can be seen, heard, tasted, touched, or smelled. He said there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed. There's absolutely nothing hidden. So therefore, a man's beliefs harden into what we call material values. They don't last forever, but they last long enough to be recognized. And if others don't recognize it, the one that brings them into expression does. At one point, Jesus gave authority to his followers to perform extraordinary feats, with the undertone still being, receive the greatness of God. You see, there must be thought. There must be thought given to actions that we take. At some point in time in the business world or in life decisions, one is told, write down the pros and cons and then make your decision. The scriptures say no greater love has a man that he lay down his life for his friends. And this doesn't necessarily mean, maybe putting yourself in harm's way to protect someone else. But can you lose your earthly desires for something greater? As one lives from day to day with emphasis on receiving the greatness of God, Jesus said all things would be provided. Why is it so hard for us to take him seriously and say, as a person who enters the military, they go away for 2 years or 4 years, and they are induced, they are saturated with that life. And sometimes when they return or visit, we don't recognize them because they've changed so much. And yet, when we approach the spiritual life, we find reasons for not doing that, for not changing. We want to be able to just reach in our pocket or reach in the Bible and pull out the name Jesus and get out of a problem. But Jesus said your day-to-day life would be to take up your cross, which is what? A separating from the life that is, with an emphasis on receiving the greatness of God. He says, with the intensity or the conviction of this, all necessary things would be provided by one greater than all things. Remember to the 5,000 who he had fed? When they came looking for food again, he said, did you not see? Did you not see? How many times has God revealed a miracle in our world and we just saw it as an act of kindness of God? Thank you. But we didn't see the miracle. As the kingdom of God becomes one's sole concern, this greatness saturates the conscience, the interior of one's being. He will speak of the kingdom of heaven being at hand. He will recognize provisions always available. He will always encourage those who appear in need, and they will witness this greatness as he continues to submit and to be submerged within its assured promises. You see, the kingdom of God comes with promises, and they are assured. And we have to be able to see them within ourselves as assured promises, that they would be able to be expressed in material value. There is a great suffering that this man will go through, this person, this woman that follows God. There's a great suffering that he'll go through. But it will be mostly from those that will not believe the witness. Those who will not believe that this person actually speaks of what he knows. This person has received the greatness of God, and therefore the provisions come forth. And as he witnesses these provisions, it's just a shame that those who would not believe, for the most part, they do not believe because of the conviction that comes when they realize internally with themselves how they are not living to receive the greatness of God. But this man, this woman, suffers because of their desire to help those who can't see or won't see, to help them to see the love of God, the greatness of God. For what he has witnessed, he must speak of. The kingdom of God's greatness at hand and its availability to every person. This is the subject matter that falls from his lips, her lips, constantly. The kingdom of God's greatness is at hand, and its availability is for every person. Nothing is withheld, for the kingdom has come to the earth. None can stand against him, for the truth that he has allowed to saturate his being has become the kingdom of his God. His only dependency is on the word that he sees and feels, the word that he knows to be true, the word that causes him to step forward when it appears that there's nowhere to step. The kingdom has come. He has given up the life that he once desired and has found life eternal, the greatness of God. No longer can he work as a mere human, for the cross that he bears daily separates him for the glory that he shares with the Father. As God has promised that those that believe on his Son would become his sons, he promised that if we receive him in the heart, he would reveal himself as all that we would ever need or desire. Emmanuel, we would call him. God with us would be the heartfelt meaning. Can you not see how we can use a term and that term be so far-reaching, or it can be obscured or just surfacely thought of? Think of all the people that say Emmanuel, meaning God with us. And they actually believe that God is with them until the trial comes. And that understanding is not heartfelt. There is a mystery to this world that every person is entitled to understand. But it is only by a leap of faith that one can have this mystery revealed. When the promise is believed, one's eyes would be opened to see. No longer looking for the essence of life among the walking dead, this believer speaks of the kingdom, not a kingdom, but the kingdom, everywhere he travels. He is no longer afraid, holding within himself the conviction of the presence of God. He has received the one great treasure, that which fills all. He has received the greatness of God. God bless.